YouTubers often take extreme risks for views, whether it's daring stunts or wild pranks. But sometimes these risks lead to fatal consequences. In their pursuit of fame, some unknowingly captured their final moments on camera. From tragic accidents to disturbing live streams, these real-life stories show how quickly things can go wrong. Get ready for 2 hours of the most disturbing deaths of YouTubers who died while filming videos. It was a warm day in 2015 in Iasi, a city in northeastern Romania. Ana Ursu, an 18-year-old high school student, was out with her friend. Like many teenagers of her time, Ana was fascinated with social media and loved capturing moments to share online. This day, however, would turn tragic as Ana's desire for the perfect photo led to a fatal accident. Ana and her friend had decided to visit a local train station. The station was relatively quiet, with most trains stationary. It was an ideal spot for the teenagers to explore and find unique places for their photos. Ana wanted to take what she called the ultimate selfie, a photograph that would stand out on her Facebook profile. She envisioned a daring shot perched high atop a train. For Ana, it wasn't just about the photo, but about capturing a moment that would wow her friends and followers. The two girls climbed onto the roof of a stationary train. They laughed and joked, their spirits high as they prepared to take the photo. Ana decided on a pose where she lay on her back with one leg raised in the air. She thought it would make for a dramatic shot. Unfortunately, Ana was unaware of the danger present just above her. Above the train were high-voltage cables carrying an immense electrical charge. As Ana struck her pose, her raised leg came dangerously close to the wires. Although she never physically touched them, she entered the electrical field surrounding the wires. The voltage in these cables was a staggering 27,000 volts, far beyond what the human body can withstand. In an instant, the electrical field discharged into Ana's body. Witnesses nearby saw a horrifying scene unfold. A passerby who had been walking near the station noticed the girls on top of the train. He called out to them, warning them to be careful and to keep their heads and legs down, but his warnings went unheard. Just moments after his shout, there was a loud bang. Ana's body had become a conduit for the deadly electrical charge, so strong that flames erupted from her clothing. The force of the electrical discharge was so powerful that it threw Ana's friend off the train roof. She landed on the ground, injured but alive. Meanwhile, Ana was on fire, the intense heat consuming her clothes and skin. The passerby, realizing the severity of the situation, acted quickly. Despite the risk to his own life, he scrambled onto the train, trying desperately to extinguish the flames engulfing Ana. He used his hands and clothing to try to smother the fire, but it was too late. Emergency services were called, and Ana was rushed to the hospital. The burns covered more than 50% of her body. The medical team worked frantically to save her, but the damage was too severe. The electricity had not only burned her skin, but it also caused deep internal injuries. After a short fight for her life, Ana succumbed to her injuries. Her friend, who had been thrown from the train, was also taken to the hospital. She survived, suffering from minor burns and shock. In her statements to the police, she recounted how they had simply wanted to take a memorable photo. They had not thought about the danger overhead. The idea of capturing the ultimate selfie had overshadowed any concerns about safety. The passerby who tried to save Ana was left shaken by the experience. He had been out for a walk when he saw the two girls on top of the train. Aware of the potential danger from the electrical wires, he had tried to warn them. His actions in attempting to extinguish the flames were heroic, but even he could not prevent the tragedy. The aftermath of the incident left a deep scar on the community. Ana's family and friends were devastated. The tragic incident became a story showing the risks associated with the increasingly popular trend of taking selfies in dangerous locations. The temptation of social media fame and the desire to stand out had led to a fatal miscalculation. It was a quiet night on May 31, 2014, near Denver, Colorado. Amritpal Singh, a 29-year-old pilot, was at the controls of his Cessna 150K. Singh, an enthusiastic aviator, often took friends for short flights around the area. On this night, his passenger was Jatinder Singh, a 31-year-old musician in town for a concert. The flight was supposed to be a routine joyride, but it ended in a tragedy that stunned the community. Amritpal Singh had a habit of documenting his flights. He mounted a GoPro camera on the plane's windshield, capturing moments with various passengers. The GoPro recorded multiple flights, showing Singh and his passengers taking selfies, even using the flash function during nighttime flights. These recordings, though not capturing the fatal flight, provided critical insights into the events leading to the crash. Shortly after midnight, Singh's Cessna 150K took off from Front Range Airport in Adams County. It was a clear night, but the dark conditions required heightened awareness and precision. The Cessna climbed steadily into the sky. Singh, familiar with the route, began what should have been a straightforward flight. As the plane ascended, something went wrong. The GoPro camera did not record the fatal flight, but the patterns from previous recordings painted a clear picture. Singh had a tendency to take selfies during flights, often using his cell phone's flash. Investigators believe this habit carried over into the final flight. Around 12:10 a.m., just minutes after takeoff, the plane lost control. Singh, likely disoriented by the flash from his cell phone, struggled to regain control. The plane descended rapidly, crashing into a wheat field. The impact was devastating, killing both Amritpal and Jatinder instantly. The wreckage was discovered around 7:30 a.m., about 7 hours after the crash. The plane was found in a mangled state, having bounced once before coming to rest upright in the field. The National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, immediately launched an investigation. The NTSB's report detailed how the use of cell phones during flights distracted Singh. The flash from the camera likely caused spatial disorientation, a condition where a pilot loses the ability to determine their position relative to the Earth. This disorientation led to an aerodynamic stall and subsequent spin into the terrain. Based on evidence of the pilot using a cell phone during low-altitude flying, including just before the crash, it is likely that using the phone during the crash flight distracted the pilot. This distraction may have caused spatial disorientation and led to the pilot losing control, the report stated. Further examination of the wreckage revealed no pre-impact mechanical failures. The crash was solely attributed to pilot error, made worse by distraction. Singh's logbook showed he had 726 total flight hours, with only 27 hours of nighttime flying experience. He lacked certification for flying at night with instruments and for carrying passengers at night, which shows his limited preparedness for such conditions. This tragic incident underscored the dangers of distraction in aviation. Federal rules prohibit commercial pilots and crew from using cell phones or personal electronic devices during critical phases of flight, such as takeoff and landing, or when below 10,000 feet. However, these rules are less strict for private pilots. While private pilots are barred from dangerous or careless behavior, specific regulations about cell phone use are not as clear-cut. The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, expects pilots to operate safely and prohibits careless or reckless operation. However, many private pilots use their phones or iPads for navigation and communication, a practice that can lead to distractions if not managed properly. Tony Moreno, a flight instructor with Rocky Mountain Flight School, emphasized the importance of maintaining focus during critical phases of flight. Why take a picture at that critical moment of flight? Why disrupt your concentration on the really critical tasks at that important moment? Moreno questioned. The NTSB's findings led to discussions about the need for stricter regulations regarding the use of personal electronic devices by private pilots. The evidence suggested that Singh's distraction, disorientation, and lack of adequate night flying training combined to cause the crash. The tragic loss of life tells us about the critical need for awareness and adherence to safety protocols. Evening of July 25, 2024 in Pune, India, a tragedy unfolded that would shock everyone in the community. Heavy rains had driven most residents indoors and the city was quiet. But amid this calm, a horrifying event occurred. 15-year-old Arya Srirao from the Pimpri Chinchwad area ended his life by jumping from the 14th floor of his apartment building. Arya was a bright student, known for being shy but intelligent, with a strong interest in technology. His father worked in Nigeria, while his mother, Swati Srirao, managed the household and cared for Arya and his younger sibling. Arya had always been a happy, typical teenager, until he became obsessed with online gaming. Over the past 6 months, Arya's behavior had changed dramatically. He had developed an unhealthy fixation on online games, particularly the Blue Whale Challenge, a notorious game that first made headlines in 2017 for its role in numerous teen self-harm cases worldwide. This game consists of 50 tasks, starting with simple challenges but gradually escalating to dangerous activities, resulting in a final, horrifying task, taking your own life. Arya's addiction to the game became evident as he spent more time locked in his room, isolating himself from his family. he became more withdrawn, aggressive, and deeply immersed in the virtual world. His parents noticed the changes but couldn't prevent him from slipping into a dark, dangerous mindset. On the night of July 25th, while the rain poured down outside, Arya stayed in his room as usual. His parents, occupied with his younger sibling who had a fever, called him repeatedly for dinner. He briefly joined them but soon retreated back to his room. As the night went on, the family received a disturbing message in their apartment complex's WhatsApp group. A child had fallen from one of the buildings. Swati rushed to check on Arya, only to find him lying motionless on the ground. Despite being rushed to the hospital, Arya was declared dead on arrival. The incident left his family and the community in deep shock. How could such a bright, intelligent boy end his life so tragically? The answer appeared to lie in the sinister influence of the Blue Whale Challenge. The police investigation uncovered disturbing details about Arya's final days. A notebook found in his room contained coded notes, maps of the house, and sketches of the exact spot from which he planned to jump. The words "log out" and "XD" were also scrawled in the notebook, believed to be linked to the game. The police discovered that Arya had been in contact with other players online, possibly under the influence of a curator, who may have guided him through the game and instructed him to take his own life. Swati later recalled how Arya had changed since he started playing the game. He became obsessed with death-related music and expressed morbid thoughts, once telling his mother that life and death are the same. These were clear signs of the psychological manipulation he was under, but they were missed until it was too late. Arya's death wasn't the first link to the Blue Whale Challenge in India. In 2017, 14-year-old Manpreet Singh Sani from Mumbai jumped from the 7th floor of a building after being influenced by the game. The Blue Whale Challenge has claimed over 100 lives worldwide, with victims in Russia, Ukraine, India, and the United States. Following Arya's death, the Pune police launched a thorough investigation, bringing in cyber experts to unlock Arya's laptop in hopes of uncovering more details about his online interactions and the person or people who led him to this tragic end. Arya's father, who returned from Nigeria after the news, called for a permanent ban on dangerous online games like the Blue Whale Challenge, urging parents to be vigilant about their children's online activities. Arya's death sent ripples of fear and grief through the Pimpri Chinchwad community, showing the vulnerability of young minds and the deadly potential of online games. The tragedy sparked renewed discussions on the dangers of online gaming and the urgent need for stricter regulations to protect children from harmful content. On February 26, 2021, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Arroyo family's life changed forever. It was a typical winter day, but tragedy struck when 9-year-old Ariane Jaylene Arroyo became engrossed in TikTok, her favorite social media app. Ariane loved dancing, participating in challenges, and sharing her joy with friends and family on the platform. But on this day, Ariane encountered something on TikTok that would lead to a tragic outcome. Ariane's parents, Heriberto and Cristal Arroyo Roman, were aware of her growing attachment to her phone and the app. They had seen her participate in harmless challenges before, thinking it was just innocent fun. However, what they didn't know was that the algorithm was designed to keep users, especially young ones like Ariane, engaged by showing them content that could be interesting and sometimes far more dangerous than it appeared. On that day, Ariane came across the Blackout Challenge, a dangerous trend circulating on TikTok. The challenge involved users restricting their airflow until they passed out, only to wake up moments later. To a child like Ariane, it may have seemed like just another game to try and share. But this was no game. It was deadly. Unbeknownst to Heriberto and Cristal, Ariane decided to attempt the challenge while they were occupied with other tasks around the house. Using the family's dog leash, she tried to replicate what she had seen on TikTok. Her younger brother Eduardo was the first to notice something was wrong. He found Ariane unresponsive, hanging from the leash, and immediately ran to get his father. Heriberto rushed to his daughter's side, desperately trying to revive her. Ariane was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. She had been deprived of oxygen for too long, and despite the medical team's efforts, she was brain dead. On February 26, 2021, Ariane was pronounced dead at just 9 years old. The Arroyo family was devastated, overwhelmed with grief and guilt. They had trusted that the content their daughter was viewing on TikTok was safe, but now faced the harsh reality that it was not. In their search for answers, they discovered that Ariane was not the only child who had died from attempting the Blackout Challenge. In July 2021, another family in Temple, Texas experienced a similar tragedy. 8-year-old Leilani Erica Renee Walton died after trying the same challenge. Like Ariane, Leilani had seen the challenge repeatedly on TikTok and believed it would be fun to try. Her family found her hanging from a rope in her room, Just like Ariani, the Walton family, devastated by the loss of their daughter, joined forces with the Arroyos. Together, they sought justice for their daughters and to prevent other families from suffering the same fate. They turned to the Social Media Victims Law Center, which helped them file a lawsuit against TikTok. The lawsuit alleges that TikTok's algorithm promoted the blackout challenge to young users, leading to their deaths. TikTok has denied that the blackout challenge was ever a trend on its platform, stating that the challenge existed before TikTok was created and has never been promoted by the app. However, these reassurances have done little to ease the pain of the families who lost their children. The lawsuit accuses TikTok of engineered addiction, claiming that the platform's algorithm directed their children to dangerous content, leading to their deaths. The families are seeking damages, but more importantly, they want to raise awareness about the dangers lurking on social media platforms like TikTok. They hope that by speaking out, they can prevent other parents from experiencing the same heartbreak. Experts have weighed in on the risks posed by social media to young users, stressing the importance of parents talking to their children about the content they encounter online. The deaths of Ariani and Lalani have sparked a broader conversation about the role of social media in the lives of children and the responsibility these platforms have to protect their youngest users. Ariani and Lalani were vibrant, talented young girls with bright futures ahead of them, futures that were tragically cut short by a senseless online trend. Their memories remain fresh in the minds of their loved ones as they continue to seek justice and raise awareness in the hope of preventing more tragedies like theirs. It was September 1st, 2023, in Worcester, Massachusetts. Harris Wallabaugh, a 14-year-old sophomore at Doherty Memorial High School, was having a typical day. Known for his love of basketball and friendly nature, Harris was a healthy and active teenager, but the day would turn tragic and ignite a national discussion about the dangers of viral challenges. At school, a friend offered Harris a Paquis chip as part of the one-chip challenge. This viral challenge involved eating an extremely spicy chip made from the hottest chili peppers, the Carolina Reaper and the Naga Viper pepper. The goal was to see how long someone could last without eating or drinking anything. However, for Harris, this challenge would prove fatal. The Paquis chip, marketed as a novelty item, was sold individually for about $10. It came wrapped in foil inside a coffin-shaped box with ominous imagery and a clear warning label. The chip was intended for adults only, and people with underlying health conditions or sensitivity to spicy foods should avoid it. Despite these warnings, the chip had gained popularity among teenagers across the country. Harris ate the chip during school, surrounded by friends eager to see his reaction. Soon after, he began feeling unwell. The intense heat from the chip's capsaicin, the chemical that gives chili peppers their spiciness, overwhelmed him. He became dizzy and fainted in front of his classmates. The school nurse attended to him, and Harris was taken to the nurse's office to recover. Unfortunately, Harris's condition worsened. After returning home, he collapsed again. His family rushed him to the emergency room, but it was too late. Harris Wallabaugh, a young and vibrant teenager, died from cardiopulmonary arrest, the sudden discontinuance of heart and lung function. The autopsy revealed that Harris had ingested a high concentration of capsaicin, which triggered the cardiac arrest. It also uncovered that Harris had an enlarged heart, known as cardiomegaly, and a congenital defect called myocardial bridging, where a major coronary artery is embedded within the heart muscle. While these conditions are not typically life-threatening, they made Harris more vulnerable to the chip's effects. News of Harris's death quickly spread, leaving his family, friends, and the Worcester community in shock. His mother, Lois Wallabaugh, was devastated, saying in an interview, "I miss my son so much." The focus soon shifted to the one-chip challenge and its role in this tragedy. The challenge had been popularized on social media, with countless videos of people, including children, reacting to the chip's intense heat. Health officials had long warned about the dangers of consuming large amounts of capsaicin, especially for those with underlying health conditions. Capsaicin can cause serious health issues, including allergic reactions, difficulty breathing, irregular heartbeats, and in extreme cases, heart attacks or strokes. Following Harris's death, Paquis, the company behind the chip, took immediate action. The chip was pulled from store shelves, and the company released a statement expressing their sadness and condolences. They emphasized that the product was intended for adults only and had clear warnings, but due to increased reports of teens not heeding these warnings, they decided to discontinue the one-chip challenge in September 2023. Despite these actions, Harris's death raised serious questions about the responsibility of companies in promoting potentially dangerous products and the role of social media in spreading harmful trends. What started as a fun, daring activity ended in a devastating loss. In the aftermath, there was a national call for more regulation of such products and greater awareness of the risks associated with viral challenges. Parents, educators, and health officials urged children and teenagers to think twice before participating in these activities. Harris's story reminds us about the need for caution and responsibility, not just from companies and social media platforms, but from all of us. It was June 19, 2019, in Brooklyn, New York. Desmond Amofa, a 29-year-old YouTuber known as Etika, was a beloved figure in the gaming world, particularly among Nintendo fans. Known for his high-energy personality, Desmond had built a large following through his engaging content and live streams. But behind his online persona, Desmond was dealing with serious mental health challenges. Desmond's YouTube and Twitch channels were hugely popular, with thousands of fans tuning in to watch his content. However, his behavior had grown increasingly concerning in the following months. In October 2018, YouTube suspended his channel, EW Network, after he posted content that violated community guidelines. This event marked a shift in Desmond's online presence, with his posts and streams becoming more unpredictable and sometimes alarming. In April 2019, Desmond live-streamed a standoff with police officers. He posted disturbing messages and photos online, including one where he was holding a gun, signaling he was troubled. This incident led to police intervention, and he was taken to a hospital for evaluation. It was clear that Desmond was battling deep mental health issues, but despite receiving help, his struggles continued. On June 19th, Desmond uploaded a video titled, "I'm Sorry," on his YouTube channel, TR1, I Come On. In the 8-minute video, he expressed regrets to his followers, apologizing for his recent behavior. The video alarmed fans who quickly reached out to authorities. Shortly after posting it, Desmond disappeared. The next day, the New York Police Department asked the public for assistance in locating Desmond. They posted a tweet describing him as a well-known YouTuber and expressing concerns following his recent video. Despite these efforts, there was no sign of Desmond. After 5 days of searching, on June 25th, police confirmed that Desmond's body had been found in the East River in Lower Manhattan. The gaming community was heartbroken. Fans, other creators, and YouTube itself shared messages of condolences. The official YouTube creator's Twitter account acknowledged Desmond's influence, expressing sadness over his passing and sending condolences to his loved ones. Desmond's story brought attention to the intense pressures that public figures, especially online creators, face. Many experts believe that social media fame can increase stress and worsen mental health issues. Kaylee Cruzan, a researcher from Cornell University, noted that while social media research usually focuses on the general public, more studies are needed on the unique impact it has on influencers. Desmond's behavior in his final months, including the worrying messages he shared on platforms like Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube, showed clear signs of distress. Despite his fans' support, it was apparent that he needed continuous mental health care that unfortunately wasn't sustained. The online community's efforts to help him highlighted the gaps in the current mental health system, where individuals in crisis often don't receive long-term support. Rod Breslau, an esports consultant, reflected on Desmond's experience, observing that the pressures of online fame likely affected his mental state. Breslau emphasized how challenging it could be for influencers to manage such large audiences, especially in a high-stakes public environment like gaming and streaming. The tragedy of Desmond's passing sparked conversations around the need for better mental health resources for online influencers and content creators. Statistics from the CDC show that mental health challenges are a leading concern for young adults in the U.S., and studies suggest that increased time on social media can lead to feelings of anxiety and sadness. However, these studies often overlook the experiences of influencers who face unique pressures to engage constantly with their audiences. Dr. Victor Schwartz, Chief Medical Officer of the JED Foundation, highlighted the importance of mental health resources tailored to young people. He called for more proactive intervention from social media platforms, which could help connect individuals in need with professional resources. While Desmond's online community took steps to support him, there were limitations to what his fans and friends could do. Desmond's passing has also renewed discussions on the responsibilities of social media platforms to protect the mental health of their users, especially those with large followings. Many hope his story will raise awareness about the mental health struggles that influencers face. Breslau commented on the impact of Desmond's life and work, saying that he was an important figure in the Nintendo and Smash gaming communities, and that his legacy as an entertainer would be remembered fondly. Desmond's story is a reminder of the challenges faced by those in the public eye. His struggle illustrates the need for compassionate mental health support and a stronger safety net for those navigating the intense demands of online fame. His legacy underscores the importance of addressing mental health more openly and creating a system that truly supports individuals during difficult times. On December 22, 2021, the influencer community was shaken by the loss of Maeva Chaichinsky, known as Mava Cho. At just 32, she was a mother of 4 and had amassed over 150,000 subscribers on YouTube with her open and personal family vlogs. But behind her cheerful videos, Maeva was enduring immense hardship, facing relentless online harassment. This harassment led her to a breaking point. Maeva had openly shared her struggles in her videos. The constant online bullying left her feeling trapped, watched, and threatened. Her lawyer, Stefan Girana, disclosed that she had filed a legal complaint for emotional harassment and wrongful influence on the same day she passed away. The complaint was against her ex-husband, Adrian Chaichinsky, whom she accused of using his platform to provoke others against her on social media, including Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. The harassment included degrading comments and false claims about her parenting. Maeva's story didn't end with her passing. An investigation was launched to uncover the full extent of the harassment she endured, and new civil parties joined the case. On February 27, 2024, Adrian and his new partner were placed under judicial supervision, charged with harassment that allegedly led to Maeva's death. For Maeva's family and her last partner, Romain, this was a step towards justice. Maeva's lawyer, Girana, commented that the charges confirmed there were substantial and consistent indications of Adrian and his partner's involvement in actions that contributed to Maeva's passing. He expressed relief at the progress, noting how long the case had remained unresolved. Adrian, however, denied these accusations. His lawyer, Laurent Mortet, stated that Adrian firmly rejected any wrongdoing and was committed to defending himself. Mortet pointed out the challenging position Adrian's new partner found herself in, facing harsh criticism and false information on social media. Maeva's online journey began in 2013, and she gained significant popularity in 2018 when her YouTube following exceeded 100,000. She shared her life as a mom without filters on her channel Mava Chu, an unapologetic mom. She also appeared on a reality show in 2017, which boosted her reach. By the end of her life, Maeva had 151,000 subscribers on YouTube, 90,000 followers on Instagram, and 38,000 on Facebook. However, her personal life was complex. She lived in Batilly, Meurthe-et-Moselle, with Adrien, and they ran a marketing and information business together while raising 4 children. In 2018, they even established a charity to support orphanages called Pour une petite souris. But their relationship deteriorated, ending in a difficult split. In the months leading up to her passing, Maeva filed 5 complaints against Adrian for emotional distress. However, these complaints did not see immediate action, adding to her frustration. Adrian, who went by Adrian Vlog and Blah Blah online, posted a video in response to the allegations, denying any part in the cyberbullying. He expressed sorrow, claiming he would continue supporting their children despite the conflict with Maeva. Adrian accused media outlets and other individuals of creating hatred and misinformation. In his video, which garnered over 140,000 views, Adrian read out hurtful messages that he and his new partner received after Maeva's passing. He described this as part of the continuous harassment they were facing and vowed to protect his children and counter the negativity on social media. Meanwhile, the public prosecutor's office in Epinal has not yet made an official statement regarding Maeva's death and her complaint against Adrian. Her family and friends, however, are still grieving, and they hope for justice and closure in her case. Maeva's tragic end raises difficult questions. Could her complaints have received attention sooner? Should social media platforms take more action to prevent harassment? Could more support from her online community have made a difference? These unresolved questions highlight the severe impact of online harassment and the importance of addressing it. Her story is a sad example of the darker side of social media. Influencers like Maiva can inspire many, but they are also vulnerable to the toxicity that can arise online. The loss of Maiva Chaichinsky is a tragedy that calls for a safer, more compassionate online world for everyone.
It was June 26, 2017, in Halstad, Minnesota. Mona Lisa Perez, a 19-year-old, was in her home with her boyfriend, Pedro Ruiz, 3. They were a young couple, deeply in love, and always looking for ways to make their mark on social media. Their YouTube channel featured a variety of pranks and stunts, some more dangerous than others. On that day, they decided to film what they hoped would be their most popular video yet. Unfortunately, the stunt went tragically wrong. Mona Lisa and Pedro were getting ready to shoot a video where Mona Lisa would fire a .50 caliber Desert Eagle handgun at a thick book that Pedro was holding against his chest. Pedro was convinced the book would stop the bullet. He had even shown Mona Lisa another book he'd shot before, where the bullet hadn't gone all the way through. Confident their stunt would work, Pedro set up 2 cameras to catch the action, one mounted on the back of a vehicle and the other on a ladder. Mona Lisa, 7 months pregnant at the time, was hesitant. In the video transcript, she can be heard saying, "I can't do it, babe. I'm so scared." Pedro reassured her, saying, "As long as you hit the book, you'll be fine. Come on." Trusting Pedro's confidence, Mona Lisa aimed and fired from about a foot away. The bullet pierced the book and struck Pedro in the chest. Panicking, Mona Lisa called 911, telling the dispatcher, "We were doing a YouTube video and it went wrong. Please hurry up." Despite the quick response of the paramedics, Pedro Ruiz, 3, 22, was pronounced dead at the scene from a single gunshot wound to the chest. In the days following the incident, the video of the shooting, captured on 2 cameras, became key evidence in the investigation. Mona Lisa was charged with second-degree manslaughter. She pleaded guilty to the charge and was sentenced to 180 days in jail, which she would serve in 30-day increments each year for the next 3 years. She was also sentenced to 10 years of supervised probation and was banned from ever possessing firearms. Additionally, the plea agreement prohibited her from profiting off the video of the shooting. Pedro's family was devastated by his death. His aunt, Claudia Ruiz, told CNN affiliate KVLY, "They were in love. They loved each other. It was just a prank gone wrong. It shouldn't have happened like this. It shouldn't have happened at all." The couple had a 3-year-old daughter and were expecting their second child. Mona Lisa gave birth to their son in September. The tragic incident raised many questions about the lengths people would go to for internet fame. Sheriff Jeremy Thornton of Norman County expressed his confusion, saying, "I really have no idea what they were thinking. I just don't understand the younger generation on trying to get their 15 minutes of fame." Mona Lisa and Pedro's YouTube channel had a modest following at the time of the incident, with around 218 subscribers. Their videos included harmless pranks like Pedro climbing a tree and falling, and Mona Lisa feeding him a donut covered in baby powder instead of powdered sugar. In their last video together, filmed at a fairground, Mona Lisa said, "Imagine when we have 300,000 subscribers." In the wake of the shooting, Mona Lisa's tweet from the day of the incident gained significant attention. She had written, "Me and Pedro are probably going to shoot one of the most dangerous videos ever. His idea, not mine." The tweet was retweeted over 2,000 times and garnered nearly 1,500 replies, a mix of sympathy and criticism. On July 3, 2018, a tragic accident unfolded at Shannon Falls in British Columbia, Canada, when 3 well-known YouTubers from the High on Life travel group lost their lives. Riker Gamble, Alexei Liak, and Megan Scraper, known for creating thrilling travel content, were exploring the area that day. Their adventurous spirit, which had attracted millions of followers on social media, ultimately led to a devastating outcome. Riker and Alexei, both from Vancouver, started the High on Life YouTube channel in 2012 with their friend Parker Hughes. They wanted to inspire people to explore the world, take risks, and live fully. Over time, the channel gained over 500,000 YouTube subscribers and over 1 million Instagram followers. The group became famous for their daring adventures, often showcasing extreme stunts in breathtaking locations. Megan Scraper, a former field hockey player and social media consultant, later joined the group, bringing the same love for exploration and adventure. Their message was always about living in the moment, pushing limits, and making the most of life. On the day of the accident, the group decided to swim in one of the pools at the top of Shannon Falls. The waterfall, standing at 1,099 feet, is the third highest in British Columbia. Though it's a beautiful spot, it's also known for its danger due to slippery rocks and strong currents. As they stood near the edge, Megan tragically slipped on the wet rocks and fell into the waterfall. Seeing her fall, Riker and Alexei immediately jumped into the water to save her. But the strong currents overpowered them as well. In a matter of moments, all three were swept down the waterfall, plunging nearly 100 feet into the pool below. Witnesses were horrified as they saw their friends disappear. Emergency services were quickly called, and search and rescue teams from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP, and Squamish Search and Rescue arrived. Despite the rapid response, the recovery was difficult due to the dangerous terrain and strong water flow. It took hours to recover their bodies, which were all found by the end of the day. The news of their deaths spread quickly, leaving their fans, friends, and families heartbroken. Social media was flooded with tributes to the three, who had inspired so many to live adventurously. The remaining members of the High on Life team released an emotional tribute, calling Riker, Alexei, and Megan the kindest, warmest, and most driven people. They expressed their deep grief, saying, "The world has lost a great deal of light with their passing." The British Columbia Coroner's Service confirmed that their deaths were accidental, caused by the fall from the top of Shannon Falls. The slippery conditions, caused by mist and algae on the rocks, were cited as contributing factors. John Wilcox from Squamish Search and Rescue explained the risks of areas like Shannon Falls in an interview. He described the rocks as polished granite, often covered with mist and lichen, making them extremely slippery. He warned that exploring such areas carries significant danger. This incident also drew attention to the risks taken by extreme adventure content creators. High on Life had faced criticism before. In 2017, Riker and Alexei, along with another group member, were fined and banned from US federal lands for 5 years after walking on sensitive hot springs in Yellowstone National Park. Despite the controversy, their fans remained loyal, drawn to the group's message of living life without limits. In one of Riker's last Instagram posts, he emphasized the importance of living in the moment and enjoying life, which resonated with his followers. The deaths of Riker, Alexei, and Megan left a lasting impact on the YouTube community and their fans. Their passion for exploring and living life to the fullest inspired countless people, but their tragic end shows the dangers that come with extreme adventures. Shannon Falls, while beautiful, remains a dangerous place, especially for those who underestimate its risks. Authorities continue to warn visitors to exercise caution and to be mindful of the hazards when exploring such areas. It was a cold November night in 2017 when James William Stobie, better known as Stobe the Hobo, was out doing what he loved, riding the rails. Stobie had become famous on YouTube for documenting his life as a modern-day train hopper, showing a dangerous world few dared to enter. His videos were more than just clips of train hopping. They were artistic, with his piano music playing in the background as he crossed vast landscapes. His commentary was dry, honest, and often humorous, providing a raw look into the risks of the lifestyle he had chosen. On November 9, 2017, Stobie was in Maryland, filming one of his latest adventures, but something went terribly wrong. Some reports say his backpack got caught on an Amtrak train, dragging him to his death. Others suggest he may have fallen from a bridge while trying to hop a train and ended up on the tracks. No matter the exact details, the outcome was tragic. James Stobie died while pursuing his passion. Stobie was only 33 when he died, but in those years, he gained a loyal following. His videos were popular not only because of the danger, but also because of his unique style and eye for capturing the beauty of America from a moving freight train. His work had the spirit of Depression-era hobos who rode the rails in search of a better life. For Stobie, train hopping was more than just a thrill. It was his way of rejecting a modern life he found unfulfilling. Born to Michael and Mary Stobie in Colorado, James had always embraced an unconventional lifestyle. Friends described him as intelligent, quirky, and passionate about his interests. His videos often featured his own piano music, blending his creativity with a sense of rebellion against societal norms. As Stobie's popularity grew, so did the dangers he faced. Train hopping is illegal and risky, something he didn't shy away from discussing in his videos. He openly talked about close encounters with train wheels and the dangers of hopping while tired or drunk. In one interview, he recalled an incident where he nearly lost his life after jumping off a train while drunk and fatigued. Despite the risks, Stobie kept going. His fans admired him for it, and on a Facebook memorial page, one person wrote, "He died doing what he loved." His YouTube channel had nearly 11,000 subscribers, drawn in by his honest, humorous, and often thrilling content. Watching Stobie ride through swamps and across plains felt like joining him on his journey. However, his death also brought attention to the real dangers of train hopping. Some speculated about how exactly he died, but the Baltimore Police Department didn't release many details. For the train hopping community, his death shows the risks they face. One user on Reddit warned others about the dangers, writing, "Train hopping is not glamorous or romantic. It will kill you." Stobie's death not only affected his fans, but deeply impacted his family and friends. He was a beloved son, brother, and friend, known for his humor, compassion, and love for life. His obituary described him as a person who would be remembered both for his work and the mark he left on those who knew him. Though his life was cut short, Stobie's influence didn't end with his death. His videos continued to inspire a new generation of train hoppers, like a young man from Colorado named Dancer, who began his own YouTube channel in 2020. Inspired by Stobie, Dancer also knew the dangers, but was drawn to the same thrill. The train hopping community has grown since Stobie's passing, with many trying to honor his legacy while navigating criticism for promoting a dangerous lifestyle. For them, like Stobie, train hopping isn't just a hobby. It's a form of self-expression and a connection to the past. But as Stobie's story shows, it's a way of life that can come with deadly consequences.
May 3, 2023, on the Yamuna Expressway, a major highway connecting Agra and Delhi in northern India. The weather was clear, and the road ahead seemed perfect for a ride. 25-year-old Agastya Chauhan, a popular YouTuber with over 1.2 million subscribers on his channel ProRider 1000, was doing what he loved most, riding his superbike. Known for his high-speed videos and stunts on his Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R, Agastya had a huge fan base. But this day ended not with excitement, but with a devastating incident. Agastya lived in Dehradun, Uttarakhand, and had turned his passion for bikes into a career. His channel showcased daring stunts and high-speed rides, attracting millions of viewers. However, his videos also brought criticism and legal trouble. Earlier in 2023, Agastya was charged with performing dangerous stunts on public roads in Dehradun, violating traffic laws and endangering public safety. Despite warnings, he continued his risky rides. On that day, Agastya was traveling to Delhi from Agra with 4 friends. He planned to push his Kawasaki Ninja to its limit, reaching a speed of 300 kilometers per hour. His bike, powered by a 998 cubic centimeter engine producing 197.3 horsepower, was built for extreme speed. However, public roads like the Yamuna Expressway are unpredictable, and at such high speeds, even a small mistake can lead to disaster. Around the 47-kilometer mark on the expressway, Agastya accelerated, pushing his bike to incredible speeds. Tragically, reports state that his bike collided with a road divider at an estimated 300 kilometers per hour. The impact was catastrophic. His bike was destroyed and his helmet, which should have protected him, shattered. Agastya sustained fatal head injuries. Emergency services were called, but he had already passed away by the time they arrived. The Tapal police from the Aligarh district took custody of his body, which was later sent to Kailash Hospital in Greater Noida for a post-mortem. News of Agastya's tragic end spread quickly. His last video, uploaded on May 2nd, was flooded with comments from fans expressing shock and sadness. Some offered condolences, while others reflected on the risks of reckless riding. One comment noted that Agastya had taught his subscribers an important lesson. Drive safely. Agastya's grieving family received his body after the post-mortem. Meanwhile, the police began investigating the accident. A friend who had been riding with Agastya claimed a truck might have hit him from behind, but this remains unverified. Police are reviewing CCTV footage and the camera attached to Agastya's helmet for clues. The incident sparked a heated discussion about the dangers of performing high-speed stunts on public roads. While many mourned Agastya's death, others criticized his risky behavior. One X, formerly Twitter, user posted that it seemed inevitable, noting that Agastya's channel was full of accident-related content and questioning how no one had stopped him. The accident also served as a wake-up call for public safety. Aligarh's senior superintendent of police, Kalanidhi Naithani, described it as a painful reminder of the risks of speeding. The Aligarh police urged drivers to avoid dangerous stunts and prioritize road safety. Agastya's death highlighted a troubling reality. Overspeeding is a leading cause of road accidents in India. According to Transport Department data, Agra near the crash site has one of the highest road accident death rates in Uttar Pradesh. Overspeeding claims more lives there than in any other major city in the state. Authorities emphasize the importance of limiting high-speed activities to racetracks. Unlike public roads, racetracks are equipped with crash barriers, medical teams, and controlled conditions, minimizing the risk of fatal accidents. Public roads, on the other hand, are unpredictable and pose countless hazards, making them unsuitable for extreme speeds. Agastya Chauhan's story is a reminder of the risks that come with pushing limits on the wrong stage. His passion and talent captivated millions, but his loss underscores the importance of responsibility and safety. September 10, 2021, a chilly evening in Moscow, Russia. Dmitry Beshentsev, known online as Dima Vert, was a 34-year-old urban explorer and YouTuber with over 80,000 subscribers on his channel, Beam of the Inquisition. Dmitry was passionate about uncovering forgotten and abandoned places and sharing their beauty and mystery with his audience. On this evening, he set out with two close friends to explore an old building on 1905 Street. Dmitry had visited countless derelict sites before, but this exploration would tragically be his last. The building, a 5-story brick structure built in 1971, had been abandoned for years. Once scheduled for renovation, the project had been delayed indefinitely, leaving the building in a dangerous state of disrepair. Adjacent to the building was a disused tram depot that had been converted into a bus depot. Despite its condition, Dmitry and his friends planned to climb to the rooftop to capture breathtaking views of Moscow's skyline and create content for his channel. As the trio approached the building, they carefully navigated its crumbling exterior. Inside, the staircases were partially collapsed, and debris littered the halls. They found a rusting fire escape ladder that seemed like their best option for reaching the roof. Dmitry's friends went first, climbing cautiously to avoid any unstable sections. Dmitry followed with his camera securely strapped to him, ready to document their adventure. Climbing was nothing new to Dmitry. He had scaled numerous unstable structures throughout his urban exploration career. But as he began his ascent, the fire escape ladder creaked ominously under his weight. Suddenly, the metal rungs gave way. Dmitry's friends, still on the roof, turned in time to see him fall 5 stories to the ground. The impact was devastating. Dmitry sustained critical injuries and passed away instantly. His friends, shocked and helpless, hurried down as quickly as possible, but could do nothing to save him. The scene was heart-wrenching. Dmitry, who had spent years pursuing his passion for uncovering the forgotten corners of the world, had lost his life in the process. Emergency responders arrived shortly after, but it was too late. Authorities cordoned off the area, and reports of the incident were filed, though it remains unclear if an official investigation was ever conducted into the building's safety. News of Dmitry's passing deeply affected his online community. Fans flooded his channel with messages of grief and admiration. Commenters expressed their sorrow, with one stating that Dmitry would always be remembered for showing the beauty in forgotten places, while another remarked that his spirit would live on in his work. For many, Dmitry's videos were more than just thrilling explorations. They offered a glimpse into forgotten history and a chance to appreciate the fragile beauty of abandoned spaces. One of his last videos, where he navigated Moscow's underground tunnels in a small boat, stands as a powerful tribute to his adventurous spirit. Dmitry's story shows the risks involved in urban exploration. While these abandoned sites hold an undeniable appeal, they are often structurally unsound with unstable floors, crumbling walls, and rusted supports. Even experienced explorers like Dimitri are not immune to these hazards. Urban exploration offers a mix of history, adventure, and mystery, drawing people to places long forgotten. However, it also demands caution and respect for the potential dangers. Dimitri's death is a tragic reminder of how quickly things can go wrong, even for those who are experienced. Through his videos, Dimitri inspired thousands to see beauty and decay and history in the ruins. His legacy lives on through his work, reminding viewers of the balance between adventure and safety. February 5, 2021 was supposed to be a typical evening at Urban Air Adventure Park in Nashville. The venue was known for family-friendly fun, but unbeknownst to everyone there, tragedy was about to strike in a way few could have predicted. The shocking event would spark debate about social media responsibility and the blurred lines between entertainment and real danger. Timothy Wilkes was a soft-spoken and responsible 20-year-old. He had worked at Walmart for several years before going to school to pursue a career in HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. As responsible as he was, Timothy had another passion: YouTube. On the fateful February night, Timothy set out with a friend to film a video, part of an increasingly popular genre of prank videos, many of which blur the line between humor and threat. Their plan was to stage a robbery for the camera, aiming to capture the shocked reactions of unsuspecting bystanders, a concept that has garnered millions of views on the platform. The location they chose for their video was the parking lot of Urban Air. Families were inside enjoying the attractions, unaware of the tragic event unfolding just outside. It was then that Timothy and his friend approached a group of people. Perhaps the two of them had failed to think their plan through. Perhaps they had failed to realize just how dangerous their idea was, not only for those who would have fallen for their prank, but also for themselves. As they approached the group of people, Timothy and his friend carried butcher knives. To make matters worse, the knives were not props. They were real, sharp, and dangerous. To onlookers, this was no joke. It looked and felt like an armed robbery in progress. Among the group they approached was 23-year-old David Starnes, Jr. Unaware that he was part of a staged video, Starnes saw the knives and reacted in fear for his life and the lives of those around him. In an instant, the situation escalated from a misguided prank to a deadly confrontation. Starnes, acting in self-defense, pulled out a gun and shot Timothy Wilkes, killing him on the spot. And just like that, a 20-year-old was dead. When police arrived at the scene, Starnes admitted to the shooting. He told investigators he had no idea it was a prank and believed he was in real danger. Witnesses confirmed that Wilkes and his friend had been filming a robbery prank for a YouTube video. Despite the tragic outcome, no charges have been filed against Starnes. The police deemed his actions to be in self-defense. Timothy Wilkes' death deeply affected his grandmother, Shirley Berry, who later expressed her devastation and confusion. She revealed that she had been unaware of Timothy's involvement in YouTube videos, calling it a mystery to her. As she grieved the loss of her grandson, she hoped others might learn from this tragedy. She called on parents and guardians to be more aware of what their children are doing online, particularly on platforms like YouTube, where dangerous trends can lead to real-life consequences. What happened that night in Nashville was a confluence of poor judgment, fear, and a deadly misunderstanding. A young man with his future ahead of him lost his life, and another will carry the burden of having taken that life, even if in self-defense. Timothy Wilkes is remembered as a role model for his younger siblings, a serious young man who carried himself with dignity. January 2015, fitness model and actor George Gregory Plitt Jr., better known as Greg Plitt, was no stranger to daring videos. The 37-year-old had a fearless approach to life, one that he incorporated in his videos. But on January 17, 2015, what started as just another shoot ended in a heart-wrenching loss, leaving countless people devastated. Greg Plitt had always been a larger-than-life figure, inspiring others with his incredible physique, discipline, and relentless drive. A West Point graduate and former Army Ranger, Plitt had spent 5 years serving his country, a testament to his unyielding determination and dedication. His military background shaped him into the disciplined, hard-working man he became, and his confidence was infectious. After leaving the Army, Plitt transitioned into a career in fitness and modeling, quickly becoming a dominant figure in the industry. His face and chiseled body graced the covers of over 250 fitness magazines, making him one of the most recognizable figures in fitness culture. He wasn't just a fitness model, though. Plitt was also an actor, appearing on the Bravo television series Workout and NBC's soap opera Days of Our Lives. His likeness even served as the basis for the muscular, godlike figure of Dr. Manhattan in the 2009 film Watchmen. He had built an empire of fitness, motivation, and self-discipline, attracting a massive following that admired his relentless work ethic and drive to push boundaries. Fans flocked to his social media channels for inspiration, and Plitt was always eager to deliver. However, his thirst for excitement and desire to push the limits would ultimately lead him down a fatal path. It was January 17, 2015, when Plitt and two crew members set up along the railroad tracks in Burbank, California, to film a video meant to promote an energy drink. It wasn't the first time Plitt had filmed on those tracks. He had previously filmed videos of himself performing exercises on the rails as trains passed behind him. This time, however, things would go tragically wrong. Plitt began running alongside the track, seemingly unaware of the southbound Metrolink commuter train approaching behind him. A rock climber, skydiver, and all-around adrenaline junkie, Plitt had jumped out of planes more than 1,000 times during his military career. Risk was nothing new to him. But this time, his confidence betrayed him. When the train's horn blared, Plitt and his crew likely believed it was on an adjacent track. He continued running, trying to capture the perfect shot, but in a cruel twist of fate, Plitt was on the same track as the oncoming train. What happened next was irreversible and horrifying. Investigators later determined that Plitt had misjudged the situation, perhaps not realizing the train was barreling down on the track he was running along. In a desperate attempt to escape, Plitt tried to run out of the train's path, but he failed to do so. The train, unable to stop in time despite the engineer applying the emergency brakes, struck Plitt, ending his life almost instantly. The entire incident was captured on the train's onboard cameras. In the wake of his death, Plitt's family, friends, and fans struggled to make sense of the tragedy. His girlfriend, Christina Steiskal, tearfully explained that he was just trying to get the best shot, echoing what many close to him had said about his relentless pursuit of excellence. He lived life on the edge, constantly pushing himself to new heights, and it was this drive that ultimately led to the fatal miscalculation. Plitt's death was later ruled a tragic accident. Greg Plitt died of multiple blunt force injuries, while his friends and family mourned the loss of a man they described as larger than life. Investigators worked to understand why such a dangerous shoot had been conducted without proper permits or safety measures in place. The filming location was on a restricted area of the tracks, and no one had the authority to be there. Plitt's death was a stark reminder of the risks that come with pushing physical limits, even for someone as experienced and strong as he was. His friends described him as someone who believed there was nothing he couldn't do, but on that fateful day he encountered a challenge he could not overcome. Greg Plitt left behind a legacy marked by a tragic end, a sobering reminder of the dangers that come with the thirst for adventure. The online community was struck by tragedy in July 2019 when Grant Thompson, the star and creator of the popular YouTube channel The King of Random, lost his life in a baffling accident. At 38 years old, Thompson was known for his inventive and often daring content, which blended science experiments with creative, hands-on projects. His death shocked millions of fans who had grown to admire his curiosity and enthusiasm. Grant Thompson's journey began far from the world of viral fame. Born in 1980, Thompson was a commercial airline pilot living in Farmington, Utah. At 29, he developed a fascination with understanding how things worked. In his spare time, he began tinkering with random household objects and experimenting with basic scientific principles. It wasn't long before these hobby projects caught the attention of his friends and family. Encouraged by their interest, Thompson decided to document his experiments on video and share them online. In January 2010, Thompson created his YouTube channel, but it wasn't until 2011 that he seriously pursued the idea of making videos focused on life hacks, experiments, and DIY projects. A friend had jokingly referred to him as the King of Random, a name that stuck and eventually became the brand for his channel. By 2012, the King of Random was steadily growing, capturing the imaginations of viewers with its blend of fun science and practical innovation. Thompson's relatable explanations, combined with his infectious energy, made the channel a hit. Over time, it gained more than 11 million subscribers and accumulated over 2.5 billion views. Thompson's content was varied, often involving large quantities of everyday items, quirky experiments, and unique how-to projects. Whether demonstrating how to make homemade fireworks or testing the tensile strength of duct tape, his channel became a go-to for viewers curious about the possibilities of everyday science. Despite his success, Thompson's creative pursuits sometimes brought him into conflict with local authorities in Utah due to the experimental nature of his projects, which he filmed in his backyard. However, his passion for discovery remained undeterred, and his influence in the online world continued to grow. By 2019, Thompson had become a well-established figure in the YouTube community. But despite his fame, Thompson remained deeply committed to his family, including his wife and 4 sons. In the months leading up to his death, he began to distance himself from the day-to-day demands of the channel to spend more time with them. Unfortunately, it was during this period that his adventurous spirit would lead to tragedy. On July 29, 2019, Grant Thompson set off for what was meant to be a memorable paragliding trip near Sand Hollow State Park in Hurricane, Utah. The man had taken up paragliding only 5 months prior. It was an activity that fit the risk-taking that had defined his career. But Grant Thompson failed to return home that evening. Naturally, his family grew concerned and contacted local authorities. A search was launched, and officers used the GPS locator Thompson had been carrying to track his last known location. Hours later, rescuers made a gruesome discovery. They found Grant Thompson's body and paragliding equipment in a remote and rugged area of the park. A medical helicopter was deployed to retrieve Thompson's remains. Tragically, video footage from his recording device captured the final moments leading up to his death. According to investigators, a sudden change in the wind caused an updraft that collapsed Thompson's parachute. Though he attempted to deploy his reserve chute, he was too close to the ground, about 100 feet, for it to fully open. Thompson died on impact, merely 4 seconds after the malfunction occurred. A video titled "Grant Thompson in Memoriam" was posted on his channel the day after his death, paying tribute to the man who had built a global community around curiosity, learning, and experimentation. On December 5, 2017, in Labinsk, a city in southwestern Russia, 26-year-old Alexander Sasha Chechik found himself in a dangerous situation. Sasha, known for his adventurous nature, decided to pose with a live hand grenade and share the experience with his friends. In a moment that would turn fatal, he pulled the pin from the grenade and began taking pictures. Sasha sent these photos to several friends, showing him holding the grenade with the pin removed. He appeared calm in the images, but his actions were extremely risky. When one of his friends received the photo, they quickly responded with concern. The friend asked, "Where are you? Are you okay?" Sasha replied ambiguously, saying, "Depends on what okay is in your understanding." The friend, alarmed, urged him not to do anything foolish and asked again where he was. However, Sasha did not heed the warning. Despite what Sasha may have believed, a grenade with the pin removed is highly unstable. It doesn't need to be thrown to explode. The pin is the safety mechanism that prevents detonation. Once it's removed, the grenade becomes a ticking time bomb. Shortly after the exchange with his friend, the grenade exploded. The blast was devastating, killing Sasha instantly. The explosion caused severe injuries, which were captured in a graphic police photograph. The image showed the extent of the destruction, making it clear that Sasha had died on the spot. When the police arrived, they quickly secured the scene and began investigating. The Russian investigative committee took over, treating the incident as an accident rather than a self-murder. Their investigation focused on how Sasha had acquired the grenade, as such items are illegal for civilians to possess. Local news quickly covered the tragic event. Reports included the details of the text messages and the photos Sasha had sent before the explosion. One news source noted that Sasha had sent these images to multiple friends, further indicating that he did not intend to kill himself. It seemed he was showing off without fully understanding the danger. In one of the texts, Sasha's friend, concerned after seeing the photo, urged him, "Listen, don't around, where are you?" Unfortunately, Sasha never responded to this urgent message. The silence left many wondering what was going through his mind during those final moments. The investigation revealed that Sasha had not managed to reinsert the pin after pulling it out. This failure meant the grenade was set to explode, which it did shortly after the pin was removed. This tragic mistake cost Sasha his life. Authorities also looked into the issue of how Sasha had obtained the grenade. The illegal trafficking of weapons in Russia has been a known problem, with various illegal routes bringing military-grade equipment into civilian hands. This incident shows the serious risks associated with such illegal activities. For Sasha's friends and family, the incident was a shocking and heartbreaking loss. He was remembered as a young man full of life, often seen joking and enjoying his time. His decision to handle a live grenade was a fatal error, leading to a deadly outcome. This incident reminds us of the dangers of handling explosives. Even if someone seems confident or playful, the reality is that these are dangerous items that should be treated with extreme caution. Sasha's tragic death raises important questions about the availability of such weapons and the responsibilities of individuals in dangerous situations. A warm night on August 9, 2015, in Villaseca de la Sagra, a small town near Toledo, Spain. David Lopez, a 32-year-old resident of Villaseca, had decided to attend the annual bull run with his friends. The atmosphere was electric, with crowds gathering to witness the daring event. David, known for his love of capturing moments on his mobile phone, had never participated in bull runs, but was drawn by the excitement and the opportunity to film something extraordinary. Around 1:40 a.m., David and his friends found a spot behind the metal barriers, a protected area designed to keep spectators safe from the charging bulls. The event had already started, and the bulls were released, running through the streets in a chaotic display of power and tradition. As the bulls raced past, David noticed a collision between two of the massive animals. One of the bulls appeared to fall unconscious, lying motionless on the ground. David saw an opportunity to capture a unique video. Ignoring the safety warnings and the protective barriers, he stepped out into the open street to get a closer shot of the fallen bull. His friends watched nervously as David focused on his mobile screen, oblivious to the dangers around him. As David filmed the scene, another bull, unnoticed by him, charged towards his back. The bull, agitated and powerful, collided with David, tossing him into the air. The crowd gasped in horror as they saw David spinning like a puppet, unable to regain his footing. The bull gored him repeatedly, striking his neck and thigh with deadly force. The scene was chaotic. Spectators screamed and some tried to distract the bull, but it was too late. David lay on the ground, severely injured. The first responders rushed to his aid, providing emergency medical attention right there in the bull ring. David was then transported to Hospital Virgen de la Salud in Toledo, where doctors worked frantically to save his life. He received 2 liters of blood and underwent emergency surgery to stabilize a massive wound in his throat. Despite their best efforts, David succumbed to his injuries around 6 a.m. David's death shocked the community. He was a familiar face in Villaseca, living with his grandfather and an uncle, and doing odd jobs to make ends meet. 2 summers ago, he had worked as a lifeguard at the local swimming pool. His friends and family were devastated by the tragic loss. The town's mayoress, Elena Fernandez, expressed her sorrow, describing David's death as a tragic and stupid accident. She emphasized that David had never been a participant in the bull runs and had simply made a fatal decision to film the event from an unsafe location. Jesus Hijosa, the mayor of Villaseca de la Sagra, also urged caution. "This sends shivers down our spine," he said. "We organize these events as a tradition so that people can enjoy them, but these things happen. Bulls are dangerous animals, and when there are a lot of people, some don't pay attention. You have to have your wits about you." The rest of the festival was immediately suspended out of respect for David and his grieving family. The incident sparked a conversation about the dangers of modern technology and the risks people take to capture moments on their mobile phones. It was late at night on January 24, 2022, in Lost Dutchman State Park, Arizona. Richard Jacobson, a 21-year-old from Mesa, Arizona, was camping with a friend on the Flatiron Summit in the Superstition Mountains. Richard was an avid outdoorsman who loved hiking, hunting, and exploring new places. He had been looking forward to this trip for a long time. As the clock went near midnight, Richard and his friend, whose name remains undisclosed, decided to take some photos to capture the stunning nighttime view. The Flatiron Summit is known for its challenging terrain and breathtaking views, making it a popular spot for hikers and photographers. Richard, excited to capture the city skyline in the background, walked to the edge to take a selfie. Shortly after midnight, as Richard positioned himself for the perfect shot, he lost his footing. The ground beneath him gave way and he slipped, falling an estimated 700 feet to the ground below. His friend, witnessing the horrifying incident, immediately called 911 at around 12:45 a.m., desperately hoping for a miracle. Sergeant Doug Peeble from the Pinal County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue Team led the investigation and rescue efforts. He explained, "Mr. Jacobson went to take a photograph with himself and the city skyline in the background, and he lost his footing and slipped." Peeble said that there were no signs of foul play or drug use involved. It was a tragic accident. The Arizona Department of Public Safety quickly dispatched a helicopter to assist with the recovery operation. The rough terrain made the recovery challenging, but the team managed to locate Richard's body later that day, approximately 700 feet below where he had fallen. His friend was airlifted from the mountain, distraught and in shock. Richard Jacobson was well known among his friends and family for his kind personality. Andrew Thomas, a close friend who had spent time with Richard on a missionary trip in 2020, shared his memories of Richard with the media. "I spent all my waking hours with Richard, so I got to know him pretty well," Thomas said. "He was an outdoorsman, hunter, hiker. He did stuff like that, so I guess he died doing what he loved, just in a tragic way." Thomas described Richard as someone who treated everyone with respect and had a great sense of humor. "He really was one of those guys that everyone loved, and it's sad to lose him, but we know that it's not the end," Thomas added. "We're going to see him again." The tragic accident at Flatiron Summit tells us about the dangers that can come with outdoor adventures. The Siphon Draw Trail, one of the most popular routes to Flatiron Peak, is known for its steep and rocky terrain. Hikers often encounter rock slides and other hazards, making it a challenging hike that requires caution and focus. It was an ordinary day in April 2023 in Greenfield, Ohio. But for the Stevens family, this day would become their worst nightmare. 13-year-old Jacob Stevens was a typical teenager, full of life, who loved outdoor activities and hanging out with friends. Like many kids his age, he was also drawn to social media, particularly TikTok. TikTok, known for its viral challenges, had quickly become Jacob's favorite app. He used it to connect with friends and explore the latest trends. However, one weekend, while hanging out with friends, Jacob came across the Benadryl challenge. This dangerous trend, circulating on TikTok since 2020, involved taking a large dose of Benadryl, an over-the-counter antihistamine, to induce hallucinations. The challenge required consuming 12 to 14 pills, far exceeding the recommended dose. Jacob, eager to impress his friends, decided to try the challenge. They thought it would be a quick thrill to capture on video. As his friends recorded, Jacob swallowed a handful of pills, unaware of the severe consequences. Soon after, Jacob's body reacted violently. He began to seize uncontrollably. Panic set in as his friends realized something was terribly wrong. They called for help, and Jacob was rushed to the hospital. His condition was critical, and despite the doctor's best efforts, the overdose had caused severe damage. Jacob was placed on a ventilator, but the situation was dire. For 6 agonizing days, Jacob's father, Justin, and grandmother, Deanna Stevens, clung to hope that he might recover. But the doctor's updates proved there was no hope. On the 6th day, they received the devastating news. Jacob's brain had ceased to function. He would never wake up, never breathe on his own, never smile or talk again. Faced with an impossible decision, Justin decided to take Jacob off life support. Surrounded by family, they said their final goodbyes. Jacob Stevens was pronounced dead, leaving his family shattered by grief. His friends, who had witnessed the horror, were traumatized. What began as a moment of fun had turned into a nightmare they would carry with them forever. In the days that followed, Justin and Deanna were left to cope with their loss. Consumed by sorrow, they also felt a burning need to prevent other families from experiencing the same tragedy. Justin began speaking out, sharing Jacob's story with the world. He wanted people to see the consequences of dangerous online trends. He released a photo of Jacob on life support, the painful truth of what can happen when these challenges go wrong. This wasn't just a game, Justin said. It was too much for his body, and now he's gone. Jacob's death was not the first link to the Benadryl challenge. In 2020, a 15-year-old girl in Oklahoma also died after participating in the challenge. Despite warnings from health officials and statements from companies like TikTok and Johnson & Johnson, the challenge continued to spread. Teens were still risking their lives for a few moments of internet fame. The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, had warned about the dangers of taking high doses of Benadryl, showing the risks of heart problems, seizures, coma, and death. TikTok claimed it actively removed dangerous content and blocked related hashtags, emphasizing that safety was a priority. However, for the Stevens family, these measures came too late. Their son was already gone. In the wake of Jacob's death, the family began advocating for change. They called for stricter age restrictions on over-the-counter drugs like Benadryl and tighter controls on social media platforms to prevent minors from accessing harmful content. Jacob's story gained national attention, sparking conversations about the role of social media in young people's lives and the dangers of viral trends. For the Stevens family, the pain of their loss is a constant reminder that these changes must happen soon. They continue to fight for real change, hoping that Jacob's story will save lives and prevent other families from enduring the same heartache. As they grieve, they hold on to their memories of Jacob, a kind, funny, and loving boy taken from them too soon. December 11, 2018, what began as a typical day in Houston, Texas, ended in tragedy. 19-year-old Christian Estes Johnson, an aspiring U.S. Army recruit, was at home on Ivy Knoll Road. Christian had recently graduated from high school, where he was active in both football and basketball, and was also a committed member of a local Christian group. That day, he invited his best friend, 18-year-old Mohammed Noor Alajil, to hang out. Mohammed, a Syrian national, had been a close friend of Christian's for years, despite recent legal troubles involving an aggravated robbery charge. The two friends, like many young people, were influenced by a reckless social media trend called the No Lackin' Challenge. The challenge involved one person pulling a loaded gun on another and asking, "Are you lackin'?" a slang term questioning if the other person was armed. The idea was that no one would actually fire the weapon. It was supposed to be a test of readiness. That day, in Christian's bedroom, the two decided to participate in this dangerous challenge. Christian picked up his AR-15 rifle while Mohammed grabbed a semi-automatic pistol. The tension of the moment turned deadly when Mohammed pulled the trigger, firing a shot that struck Christian in the head. Christian collapsed immediately, and the room that had been filled with the nervous energy of a risky game fell silent with horror. Christian's brothers, who were also in the house, rushed to the scene to find their brother lifeless on the floor. In a panic, Mohammed fled the house, abandoning the gun as he ran. The tragic news spread quickly, leaving Christian's family in shock. His sister, Shira Estes Johnson, publicly expressed disbelief and anger, refusing to believe her brother would engage in such a reckless activity. She was convinced that Mohammed had intentionally killed Christian, dismissing the idea that it was just a game gone wrong. The police investigation led to Mohammed's arrest. Initially, he claimed self-defense, alleging that he and Christian had argued. However, when confronted with witness testimony about the No Lackin' Challenge, Mohammed admitted that they were playing the game when the shooting happened. In court, the prosecution emphasized the reckless nature of the game and highlighted Mohammed's criminal history, noting that he was out on bond for aggravated robbery at the time. They argued that Mohammed was a flight risk and requested a $100,000 bond, which the judge increased to $250,000 due to the severity of the case. Mohammed's defense attorney countered, arguing that the shooting was not premeditated, but rather an unfortunate consequence of the dangerous challenge. For Christian's family, this explanation fell short. They believed Mohammed intended to kill Christian and were outraged that he was only charged with second-degree manslaughter. The case drew significant attention, showing the dangers of internet-driven trends like the No Lackin' Challenge. Similar incidents had occurred in other parts of the country, where young people were injured or killed while participating in the same dangerous game. Christian's death tells us about the real consequences of these online challenges. What seemed like a test of bravery ended in a tragic loss of life. As the trial continues, Christian's family hopes for justice, wanting the world to remember Christian as more than a victim of a senseless game. They hope that by sharing his story, they can prevent others from making the same deadly mistake. On July 14, 2019, in Utica, New York, Bianca Devins, a 17-year-old recent high school graduate, had a strong online presence where she shared her interests in emo fashion and video games. Bianca was excited about her future, planning to study psychology at Mohawk Valley Community College, and often used social media to share her thoughts and experiences. But on this day, Bianca's story took a devastating turn. A few months prior, Bianca had met 21-year-old Brandon Clark on Instagram. Their connection grew, though it seemed more meaningful to Brandon than it did to Bianca. On July 13th, they attended a concert together in New York City. The next morning, while driving back to Utica, an argument erupted. Details were unclear, but it led to a violent act that ended Bianca's life. After the incident, Brandon posted disturbing images of Bianca on social media platforms like Instagram and Discord. These images quickly circulated, shocking those who saw them. One viewer from Tennessee contacted the Utica Police Department, reporting the photo of Bianca with a serious neck injury, tagged with a Utica, New York location. When officers arrived at the scene, they found Brandon beside his car with self-inflicted injuries, attempting to take his own life. Despite his wounds, he was still conscious and had been posting photos of himself online. Police subdued him and rushed him to the hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery. Bianca's family was devastated. They issued a statement sharing their grief, remembering Bianca as a talented artist and a loving sister, daughter, and cousin. They spoke of her bright smile and expressed sorrow over her life being cut short. Bianca's death resonated far beyond her family. In the aftermath, some members of an online incel community rallied around Brandon, praising him and posting hurtful comments about Bianca. For her family and friends, this additional cruelty was deeply painful to endure. Kimberly Devins, Bianca's mother, later spoke about the trauma of seeing her daughter's photos spread across the internet. Strangers would send these images to her and Bianca's sister, Olivia, or tag them in posts filled with hateful messages. The internet seemed to be relentless in its insensitivity. Bianca's friends were also deeply affected. One of her close friends, young Shim, expressed anger at those who shared the images just for views or likes, with little regard for Bianca or her loved ones. Some supporters, however, tried to shift the narrative by honoring Bianca's memory and countering the negative comments. Even years later, her social media accounts remained active, attracting both support and hate. During his trial, Brandon pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and received a sentence of 25 years to life in prison. In court, he apologized, acknowledging that Bianca didn't deserve what happened and expressing regret for his actions, though he admitted that his apology could never undo the harm he caused. The nature of Bianca and Brandon's relationship is still debated. Some describe them as friends, while others imply a romantic involvement. What's clear is that Brandon's obsessive feelings led to a tragic outcome. Reports from the trial suggested that jealousy was a factor, as Brandon might have been upset over Bianca's interaction with another man at the concert. Bianca's public death and the exploitation of her story online showed the darker side of social media. The widespread distribution of graphic images and cruel remarks turned her passing into a spectacle, leaving her family and friends with constant, painful reminders. Kimberly Devins continues to speak out, hoping to raise awareness about the dangers of social media and the need for better protection against online exploitation. Recently, she appeared on the investigation discovery series Deadly Influence, which explores the dangers of social media and its impact on young lives. Bianca's story serves as a warning about the risks that can come with online interactions. It's a story of a young life tragically ended by a senseless act, and the ongoing pain caused by the internet's role in broadcasting it. It was September 27, 2024, in Tbilisi, Georgia. Irina Glazunova, a 27-year-old TikTok personality from Russia, was enjoying an evening out with friends. Known for her lively personality and regular social media updates, Irina documented much of her life for her followers, including her adventures that night. As they walked around Tbilisi, she recorded a video, capturing fun moments with her friends. During their outing, the group found themselves at a subway station. It was dark, with the only light coming from the station itself. Irina, standing near the stairs leading down to the underground, decided to sing a song by the Russian band Hunger Boys titled "For the Last Time." Her friend recorded her performance on their phone, focused on singing and engaging with the camera, Irina didn't notice a low wall just ahead at the edge of the stairs. In a sudden, tragic misstep, she tripped over the knee-high barrier, disappearing over the edge into the underpass below. Her friend's recording captured her final moments, including a scream before the video went black, followed by her friend's panicked voices as they rushed to help. Local media reported that Irina was immediately taken to the hospital. She had suffered severe injuries, including head trauma. Despite medical efforts, she did not survive. Her passing shocked her friends and fans, turning an ordinary night into a tragic event. Soon after, a memorial appeared at the site where Irina fell. People left flowers and messages in her memory, expressing sympathy for her family and friends. The incident also led to significant attention on social media, where the video of her accident quickly went viral. Many raised questions about the station's safety, particularly the low wall that Irina had tripped over. Social media users voiced their concerns, with one person commenting on the lack of a guardrail around the edge, describing it as a serious hazard in the dark. Another person suggested that a barrier would improve safety, while a few questioned the risks of filming in public places without attention to surroundings. Some users even called for restrictions on TikTok, frustrated by the dangers that came with recording while distracted. In response to the growing concerns, Tbilisi's City Hall addressed the matter. Officials noted that the subway station's design dated back to the Soviet era, meeting the standards of that time. Kaka Kaladze, Tbilisi's mayor, assured that the station was aligned with current safety standards. However, the public remained unconvinced, demanding updates to prevent similar incidents. Irina's passing raised further questions. Why was a high-risk structure left unprotected? Could a simple safety measure have prevented the tragedy? These concerns echoed widely as people mourned her loss. Her story tells everyone of the potential risks in everyday activities. A simple video recording, something Irina had done countless times, ended with tragic consequences. The accident also underscored the need for improved safety standards in public spaces, especially heavily trafficked areas. In the days following her passing, people reflected on the importance of awareness in public places and the dangers of becoming overly focused on screens while in transit. The memorial at the station stood as a reminder of a life cut short and a silent call for caution. Irina's family and friends continue to grapple with their loss. They remember her as a lively, joyful person who brought happiness to those around her. The videos she once posted for entertainment have now become cherished memories, but they also highlight the pain of her absence. The Tbilisi community also felt the impact of this tragedy. Irina's accident brought attention to public safety concerns, igniting calls for better infrastructure to protect citizens. The discussions about updating safety measures became more pressing, with many urging immediate changes. In the end, Irina Glazunova's death was a tragic, preventable accident that speaks to the importance of both personal awareness and safe public design. Her story is a warning for all to stay vigilant and advocate for safer environments. It was October 13, 2024, in Talavera de la Reina, Spain. Louis Stevenson, a 26-year-old British influencer, was known for his bold stunts and thrilling adventures, often shared on social media. He captivated his followers with photos from dizzying heights, showing his love for risky, adrenaline-fueled activities. On this day, Louis had set his sights on scaling the 630-foot Castilla-La Mancha Bridge, one of the tallest bridges in Spain, without any safety gear, hoping to capture another breathtaking image for his Instagram. Despite his family's repeated warnings to avoid such dangerous pursuits, he was determined to go through with it. This climb, tragically, would be his last. Louis was drawn to extreme adventures, with friends and family well aware of his daredevil spirit. His grandfather, Clifford Stevenson, shared that Louis wasn't motivated by fame or money. He sought these thrills purely for personal satisfaction. His girlfriend, Savannah Parker, was heartbroken as she remembered his last message to her the night before, telling her he loved her. Neither of them realized those would be his last words to her. Early that Sunday morning, Louis set off to the bridge with a 24-year-old friend. Heavy rains had made the surfaces slippery, yet Louis remained undeterred. They started their climb, reaching about 165 feet when tragedy struck. Louis suddenly lost his grip and fell, The scene was harrowing. A passing driver called for help, and emergency services arrived quickly. At 7:14 a.m., authorities found his lifeless body. His friend, overwhelmed by the shock, was initially unable to speak. Police later confirmed that no charges would be filed against him. Local officials reiterated that the bridge was off limits, a restriction Lewis had chosen to ignore in pursuit of his ideal shot. Savannah was heartbroken by the loss and shared a detail that made the tragedy even more devastating. Lewis had mentioned not feeling well right before the accident, even telling his friend he needed a moment to rest. Savannah suspected he might not have eaten, which could have worsened his condition. She was told that he had lost consciousness before the fall, a chilling addition to the story, as he had never experienced such symptoms before during his previous stunts. Lewis's passing sent shockwaves through the community of thrill seekers and influencers. Tributes poured in from friends who shared his passion for high-risk climbing. Many reflected on the privilege of knowing him and the profound sadness of his loss. Others expressed gratitude for the sense of freedom and fearless mentality he inspired, honoring the adventurous spirit he brought to their lives. Lewis showcased his adventures globally on his Instagram account, Expedition, documenting climbs on high-rise buildings and structures worldwide. From skyscrapers in New York to hotel rooftops in Mexico City, each post reflected his fearless approach to life, inspiring followers who marveled at his courage. Just days before, on October 3rd, he had shared a photo from the top of a Nottingham Forest stadium. Though his life ended tragically, Lewis's spirit continues to inspire his community. He will be remembered not only for his daring feats, but also for the intense passion he brought to each adventure. His story tells us about the fine line between thrill-seeking and the serious risks involved. The local community in Talavera de la Reina expressed their condolences, saddened by the tragic outcome. Macarena Munoz, the counselor for citizen security, emphasized the serious risks associated with such stunts and reiterated the ban on climbing the bridge. The town council stated the incident, underscoring the dangers of attempting such risky activities. As his family and friends cope with their loss, questions linger. What if Lewis had taken the warnings more seriously? What if the weather had been clearer? What if he had been more cautious that morning? These haunting what-if questions add to the sorrow of his untimely death.
It was May 28, 2013, in Cornwall, England. Jacob Cockle, a 28-year-old thrill-seeker and professional photographer, stood at the edge of Carnsue Pool, part of the Haley estuary. He had always been drawn to danger, capturing extreme moments through his camera lens. That day, he was about to take on his next challenge, filming a whirlpool created by old Victorian tunnels designed to move sand out of the harbour. However, this moment of adventure would end in tragedy. Jacob wasn't just any photographer. He was known for documenting risky stunts and breathtaking natural events, with millions of views on his videos. On this day, he planned to film himself in the whirlpool, wearing a plastic horse's head for a humorous touch. His friend, 70-year-old David Rain, stood nearby with a camera, ready to film. The whirlpool twisted violently, but Jacob didn't hesitate. He believed he knew how to handle it, as he had shared advice on dealing with dangerous waters on his YouTube channel. At around 7:30 p.m., Jacob waved to David and asked for a smaller camera on an 8-foot pole to capture underwater shots. As always, he was fearless, having grown up swimming in the sea. But as the camera rolled, the unthinkable happened. Jacob was sucked into the whirlpool. He resurfaced briefly on the other side, but was quickly pulled under again. David stood helpless on the shore, unable to intervene. Despite Jacob's swimming skills, the powerful water currents took him. There were signs warning people not to swim, but Jacob ignored them. He was a strong swimmer and had faced dangerous waters before. However, the whirlpool was unforgiving. Within moments, Jacob was pulled into an underwater tunnel, vanishing from sight. David, along with a nearby fisherman, called emergency services. Sadly, it was too late. Jacob's body emerged from the other side of the pool, lifeless. David and a passerby tried to revive him, but their efforts failed. Lifeboat crews arrived and airlifted Jacob to the Royal Cornwall Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The cause of death: drowning. Later, an inquest revealed that Jacob had traces of ketamine, a tranquilizer, in his system. It remains unclear whether the drug affected his judgment that day. The coroner ruled Jacob's death an accident, stating that while Jacob took risks, they were usually well considered. In his final moments, he was doing what he loved, capturing the power of nature. Jacob's relationship with the sea began when he was young. Growing up in Penzance, Cornwall, he spent much of his life in the water. His mother, Carolyn, recalled that once Jacob was in the sea, it was nearly impossible to get him out. He learned to swim early and developed a passion for surfing, diving and swimming. But his love for danger intensified after a personal tragedy. When Jacob was a teenager, his older sister Grace passed away from a brain tumor. The loss devastated the family, and Jacob was particularly affected. He and Grace had shared a close bond, even creating a secret language as children. Her death changed Jacob's outlook on life. He began living fearlessly, believing he had to live for both himself and Grace. Her passing pushed him to take more risks, feeling that life was short and should be lived without fear. Jacob's daredevil nature wasn't limited to the sea. He would often take leaps from tall buildings into the water. On one occasion, he jumped from a 3-story building into Penzance Harbour. Another time, he jumped into the harbour outside a nightclub, narrowly avoiding being crushed by a ship. Despite these close calls, Jacob always managed to survive, until this day. Beyond his thrill-seeking nature, Jacob was an incredibly talented photographer. By his 20s, he had won awards from National Geographic and the Sunday Times. His photography, often focused on the sea, captured both its beauty and its danger. In 2011, he took a famous image of 2 surfers being swept off a sea wall by 30-foot waves, nearly losing his own life in the process. His work earned him international recognition. Just weeks before his death, Jacob had won a 28,000-pound expedition to Antarctica, a dream opportunity for any photographer. But he would never make that trip. His friends and family believed he was on the verge of achieving his greatest ambitions. Yet, in the end, his love for extreme moments cost him his life. Jacob's death left a deep void in the lives of those who loved him. His mother described him as a free spirit who saw no danger in life, while his friends remembered him as someone who lived without fear. His girlfriend Rachel spoke about how, after Grace's death, Jacob felt he had to live life to the fullest for both of them. It was November 26, 2021, in Kongsberg, Norway. Tor Eckhoff, better known as Apator on YouTube, was preparing for another daring stunt. At 57, he was famous for his extreme activities like ice skating and swimming in frozen lakes, all while drinking vodka. He had over 1.2 million subscribers who eagerly watched his content. That day, he went to Jacob's Dam, a frozen lake, planning to skate on the ice while filming himself. It seemed like just another typical Friday for Tor. Tor was known for taking risks in his videos, often skating on thin ice or diving into freezing waters. He loved nature and adventure, and his stunts were a mix of humor and danger. Before starting his filming, he sent his partner, Tove Skjøven, a message with photos of himself at the lake saying the conditions were good. But things took a tragic turn. While filming, the ice beneath Tor cracked, and he fell into the freezing water. Though he had been in icy water before and always managed to escape, this time he couldn't pull himself out. Locals nearby heard his cries for help and immediately called for rescue. Firefighters and divers arrived quickly, pulling Tor from the water. He was rushed to Ullevål Hospital, but by the time he arrived, it was too late. Tor had been underwater too long. On November 27th, the day after the accident, doctors made the difficult decision to turn off life support. Tove and their son Johannes were with him in his final moments. It was a heartbreaking and sudden end for a man who had spent his life pushing boundaries. Tor's stunts were always dangerous. He skated on frozen lakes, often using a chainsaw to carve his way, and took freezing dips while drinking vodka. His unique mix of adventure and comedy made him a beloved figure in the YouTube community. Just 5 days before his death, Tor had posted a video celebrating his 57th birthday, humorously titled, "I am not dead, I am 57 today." In it, he sat in an outdoor bathtub, drank vodka, and filmed quirky moments like kissing a tree. Ironically, it would be one of his last videos. Fans were shocked and saddened by the news of Tor's death. Many saw him as more than just a YouTuber. He was the epitome of fearless adventure. His final video, which had nearly 2 million views, was filled with comments from fans expressing their grief. Some called him a legend, while others shared how his videos had brought joy to their lives. Tove shared her pain in a heartfelt Facebook post, recalling the events of that day. She described how Tor had messaged her with excitement about the lake, only for tragedy to strike. She explained how the divers had tried to save him, but couldn't because he had been underwater for too long. She ended her post by saying, "We have endless good memories, and we miss you so indescribably." Tor's death, while tragic, was not entirely unexpected. His stunts always carried risk, and those who followed him knew it. He had lived life on the edge, constantly testing his limits in dangerous situations. Unfortunately, on that cold November day, the risk caught up with him. In the wake of his death, tributes poured in from fellow YouTubers and fans. Swedish YouTuber Niemen wrote on Twitter, "He died doing what he loved, producing his wacky and nonsensical videos that never failed to make people smile." Other fans shared similar sentiments, remembering the laughter and excitement Tor had brought to their lives. Tor's YouTube channel, which he started in 2006, was filled with content that reflected his adventurous spirit. Whether it was road trips, sunsets, or ice skating stunts, his love for nature and adventure was always clear. In an interview, Tor once said, "When you are ice swimming or messing around almost naked in the snow, you have a limited amount of time before you get too cold. During that time, you just have to handle the cold mentally." His mental toughness allowed him to push through challenges, but even his strong will couldn't save him in the end.
It was October 29, 2024 in northern Sweden. Storm de Buell, a 22-year-old Belgian YouTuber, was trekking alone through the remote Jokkmokk region of Lapland. Known for his love of nature and solitude, Storm spent much of his time exploring rugged terrains, documenting his adventures on his YouTube channel, Storm Outdoorsy. Despite his survival skills, this journey would be his last. Storm had been traveling in his Peugeot 307, setting up camp in isolated areas and immersing himself in the wilderness. His videos combined breathtaking landscapes with practical tips on outdoor survival, earning him a modest audience of over 1,100 subscribers. For Storm, nature wasn't just a passion, it was a way of life. His father shared that Storm struggled to connect with people and found comfort in the wild, where he could forge his path. On October 29th, the weather took a dangerous turn. A fierce blizzard swept through the region, dropping temperatures to -6 degrees Celsius, with wind chills making it feel like -18 degrees Celsius. The snowstorm uprooted trees and covered the landscape in a thick blanket of snow. Storm captured the worsening conditions in a video sent to a friend, showing snow filling his boots and backpack. He remarked that it was going to get worse that night. Later that evening, he messaged his grandmother, reassuring her despite the severe weather. He wrote that it was snowing heavily, but that she shouldn't worry because he would survive. Tragically, those would be his last words. By 2 a.m., Storm sent an emergency distress signal to Swedish rescue services, reporting that he was injured and in immediate danger. However, the severe blizzard made it impossible for rescuers to begin their search that night. During those critical hours, Storm attempted to walk back to his car, which was about 9 miles from his campsite. It's believed his tent may have been lost in the storm, forcing him to navigate the treacherous conditions on foot. His mother speculated that his legs and feet had become frozen, severely limiting his mobility, though he likely tried to stay warm using hand warmers he had carried. By the morning of October 30th, the storm had calmed enough for rescue teams to begin their search. Around 10 a.m., they discovered Storm's body along the route to his car, far from where his tent had been. His backpack was nearly empty, holding only a sleeping bag and toothbrush. The signs on Storm's body told a story of his desperate struggle against the elements. A broken nose suggested he had fallen during the night. Exposed to brutal winds and freezing temperatures, he endured immense hardship before succumbing to the cold. The news devastated Storm's family. His mother, Elizabeth Raidmaker, spoke about the agonizing wait for updates. She said they had hoped all day that he would be found alive. When news of his death came, it shattered their hopes. Elizabeth struggled to imagine her son's final moments, thinking that Storm must have suffered for so long and died alone. Storm's father, Bout, described him as a quiet yet determined individual who found joy in his outdoor adventures. His videos were a priceless legacy for the family. However, one part of that legacy remained missing: Storm's camera. The camera used to document Storm's final journey was left behind in the snowstorm. For his family, finding it became a mission. Bout plans to return to Lapland in the spring once the snow has melted, to search for the camera and other belongings. Recovering the memory card he hoped might provide a glimpse into Storm's final moments. Storm's story drew comparisons to Into the Wild, the true story of Christopher McCandless, who also sought freedom in nature but met a tragic end. Elizabeth acknowledged the parallels but emphasized that their focus was on remembering Storm for who he truly was. They didn't want to make him a hero, but simply wanted people to remember him as he was, quiet, yet with a depth that touched everyone who knew him. Storm Debulle's journey into the wilderness shows his adventurous spirit and a reminder of the unforgiving power of nature. For his family, his legacy lives on through his videos, and they hope to preserve his memory by uncovering the last pieces of his story. It was May 28, 2013, a cloudy evening in Haley, Cornwall. Jacob Cockle, a 28-year-old photographer known for his daring stunts, stood at the edge of Carnsou Pool in the Haley estuary. Jacob was a thrill-seeker who gained recognition, including from National Geographic, for his stunning photographs of waves, surfers, and the raw beauty of the ocean. That day, he wasn't just after beauty, he was chasing danger. Jacob was fascinated by the whirlpool at Carnsou Pool, created by Victorian-era tunnels designed to clear sand from the harbor. These tunnels unintentionally caused a vortex during tidal shifts, forming swirling, powerful, and unpredictable waters. Exactly the kind of challenge Jacob loved. Equipped with a GoPro camera on an 8-foot pole for underwater shots and a plastic horse's head for humor, Jacob prepared for his stunt. His friend, 70-year-old artist David Rain, was on shore to record the event. Despite warning signs against swimming in the area, Jacob, an experienced surfer and strong swimmer, felt confident. He'd survived a close call in 2008 when a 30-foot wave slammed him into a stone pier, an incident he later recounted with laughter. Around 7:30 p.m., Jacob entered the water wearing the horse's head, swimming toward the vortex. Rain filmed as Jacob was spun around by the whirlpool, waving and laughing. The footage was striking, but the risk was evident. Jacob briefly exited the water to retrieve his GoPro pole, determined to capture underwater shots of the vortex. He then dove back in, camera in hand. Minutes passed, but Jacob didn't resurface. Rain called out to him, but there was no response. Panicked, he ran to the far side of the pool, where the water drained, hoping to see Jacob emerge. Instead, fishermen nearby spotted Jacob's body, floating face down about 73 meters from where he had entered the vortex. Rain and the fishermen pulled him to shore. A passerby attempted CPR until emergency crews arrived, and Jacob was airlifted to the Royal Cornwall Hospital in Truro. Tragically, it was too late. He was pronounced dead, with the coroner confirming drowning as the cause. An inquest later revealed traces of ketamine in Jacob's system, raising concerns about his decision-making at the time. However, his family believed his dyslexia and unique personality also played a role. His mother, Carolyn Sheard, described him as someone who embraced life fearlessly, often ignoring dangers and losing track of time. Despite his risk-taking nature, Jacob's stunts were carefully planned rather than reckless. Coroner Andrew Cox described him as an admirable young man who died doing what he loved. Jacob's death shocked his hometown of Penzance and the broader community inspired by his work. Hundreds attended his funeral, where mourners wore bright colors to celebrate his vibrant personality. His coffin, painted with waves and flowers, was adorned with fairy lights and wildflowers, reflecting his colorful life. Jacob's fascination with the sea wasn't new. A year earlier, he narrowly avoided being smashed into a seawall by a giant wave near Newlyn. He later admitted feeling overwhelmed, but continued pursuing high-risk ventures. His work, including dramatic footage of surfers caught in massive waves, captivated audiences with its mix of beauty and danger. However, his passion for pushing boundaries ultimately led to his tragic end. Carnsou Pool's whirlpool, created by a 12-meter sluice tunnel, is a rare but hazardous phenomenon. The vortex can pull a person under and drag them through the tunnel with incredible force. Authorities have since reinforced warnings to avoid such risks. Detective Constable Damian Ailing emphasized that there were warnings in place where the incident occurred. He advised people to stay away from whirlpools, as the weight of the water and the depth were unpredictable. Jacob's story became a reminder of the dangers of pushing limits, even for seasoned adventurers. Though he lived life fully and inspired many with his work, his untimely death highlights the fine line between passion and danger. It was September 26, 2024, in Hillcrest, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. Graham Dingo Dinkelman, a 44-year-old wildlife conservationist often called South Africa's Steve Irwin, was working in his snake room. Dingo was widely known for his passion for reptiles and his efforts to educate people about wildlife through his YouTube channel and conservation work. On this day, however, tragedy struck during what should have been a routine task. While cleaning the snake room at his family's home, Dingo was bitten by an eastern green mamba, one of the most venomous snakes in Africa. Unlike previous encounters with dangerous animals, this bite caused a severe allergic reaction that quickly escalated into a critical health emergency. Born on June 15, 1980, in KwaZulu-Natal, Dingo had been passionate about wildlife from a young age. His love for animals grew during his time at Maritzburg College and later through his work with the Natal Parks Board. Over the years, his fascination with reptiles turned into a lifelong mission. He started by rescuing and rehabilitating animals at home and eventually founded Dingo's Farm and Reptile Park in 2021. This sanctuary allowed visitors to interact with wildlife while promoting conservation and education. Dingo's personal life was deeply intertwined with his professional pursuits. He and his wife, Kirsty, shared a love for wildlife and worked together on their conservation efforts. They had 3 children, Taylor, 14, Maddie, 12, and Rex, 9. The entire family often appeared in his YouTube videos, showcasing their shared passion for animals and connecting with viewers worldwide. Dingo's work was driven by his motto, educate, inspire, protect. His dynamic personality and fearless approach to handling dangerous animals attracted over 100,000 YouTube subscribers and 650,000 Instagram followers. Whether interacting with a deadly black mamba or feeding their pet giraffe, Elliot, Dingo's enthusiasm was contagious. However, the bite from the green mamba proved catastrophic. Due to his allergy to snake venom, the reaction was immediate and severe. Kirsty later shared on social media that Dingo had been bitten by a venomous snake, causing a severe allergic reaction that sent him into a critical state. Dingo was rushed to the hospital where doctors placed him on a ventilator and induced a coma to stabilize his condition. Despite the medical team's relentless efforts, the venom caused significant complications. For a month, Dingo fought for his life in the intensive care unit. Under heavy sedation, his body struggled to recover. Kirsty and their children visited him daily, cherishing the moments they could be by his side. Fans and supporters from around the world sent messages of encouragement and prayers, hoping for his recovery. Kirsty provided regular updates, expressing gratitude for the overwhelming support. But the situation remained grim. Despite the doctor's best efforts, Dingo's condition did not improve. On October 28, 2024, 1 month after the bite, Dingo passed away peacefully, surrounded by his loved ones. In a heartfelt statement, Kirsty shared that Dingo had fought incredibly hard, but despite his resilience, he had passed away peacefully that day. Tributes poured in from fans, friends, and fellow conservationists who remembered Dingo as a fearless and compassionate individual dedicated to wildlife. One fan shared how Dingo had inspired them to overcome their fear of snakes, highlighting his unmatched passion and kindness. Many noted how his efforts had changed the way people viewed animals, encouraging them to value and protect wildlife. Dingo's impact on conservation extended far beyond his online presence. From dehorning rhinos to collaring elephants, his hands-on efforts contributed significantly to protecting endangered species. His purpose in life had been to help people connect with animals and appreciate their importance. Though his professional achievements were remarkable, Dingo's greatest joy was his family. Kirsty shared how their decision to homeschool their children allowed them to travel and experience incredible wildlife adventures together, such as working with wild lions. These experiences created lasting memories and strengthened their bond as a family. Graham Dingo Dinkelman's legacy will continue to inspire future generations to respect and protect wildlife. He will always be remembered for his courage, passion, and dedication to animals and the people who care for them. It was the kind of stunt that Nishu Deshwal had performed countless times before, the kind of stunt that had brought him millions of views over the years. But this time was different. This time something went terribly wrong, and Nishu's life, which had been dedicated to creating thrilling and dangerous content for his millions of followers, ended in an instant. Nishu Deshwal was not just another social media influencer. With over 1.5 million YouTube subscribers and 1.3 million Instagram followers, he had built a massive online empire. His wasn't the usual form of content. Nishu's specialized in stunts involving large, heavy vehicles in challenging terrains. His stunts had captivated audiences, racking up over 300 million views across his videos. One of his most watched videos alone had garnered an impressive 25 million views. But this fame was built on a foundation of increasingly dangerous stunts, a gamble with risk that would eventually catch up with him. Nishu's stunts often involved testing the limits of massive machines, particularly tractors, which he drove over unstable ground to the delight of his viewers. For 3 years, his followers watched in awe as he maneuvered these heavy vehicles, balancing them on 2 wheels, pulling off near impossible tricks on soft terrain, and constantly pushing the limits of what the machines, and he, could handle. But on this fateful Wednesday, the danger became all too real. That day, Nishu attempted one of his trademark stunts, lifting the front wheels of a large tractor into the air, making the vehicle balance precariously on its rear wheels. However, the ground beneath him was loose and unstable, making the already challenging maneuver even riskier. Although Nishu had performed similar stunts before, this time the massive machine began to tip backward as the rear wheels lost traction on the loose soil. The tractor teetered at a dangerous angle, and, before anyone could react, it flipped completely with the entire weight of the vehicle crashing down on Nishu. Nishu was crushed between the metal chassis of the tractor and the ground. His friends, standing nearby and filming the stunt, screamed in horror as they helplessly watched the tragedy unfold. The aftermath of his death left his fans and the wider community grappling with the sudden and shocking loss of someone so young. To make matters worse, the 22-year-old left behind a wife and a 6-month-old son. Even though the man had been on a dangerous path, and though his followers were accustomed to watching him cheat death in each video, no one had expected the risk to become a reality. As fans mourned Nishu Deshwal's death, questions arose about the factors that led to the fatal accident. Speculation swirled online, with some pointing to possible faults in the tractor's design. Fans noted that the rollover protection system, which should have shielded Nishu, had failed catastrophically. Some suggested that aftermarket parts may have been improperly sized, while others argued that tractors were simply not designed to perform the kind of stunts Nishu regularly attempted. The weight distribution of the engine, the softness of the terrain, and the immense pressure on the vehicle's structural integrity all combined to turn the stunt into a deadly accident. What happened on that riverbank in Panipat was a tragic culmination of years spent chasing online fame through ever riskier content. Nishu Deshwal's death serves as a sobering reminder of the dangers influencers face when attempting to entertain by pushing physical and mechanical limits. It was July 2021, and Albert Dyrlund was on another one of his adventures. At 22 years old, Albert was a beloved Danish YouTuber known for his fun personality and creative content. That July, Albert's work had brought him to the Italian Alps. He planned to film a video for his channel on the Seseda mountain, but Albert never got to shoot his video. Instead, a devastating accident claimed his life. Albert Dyrlund's rise to prominence began in 2016 when he joined YouTube and started sharing a range of content, from comedy sketches to music videos. Over the years, he amassed a large following, garnering more than 170,000 subscribers on YouTube and over 230,000 followers on Instagram. His energetic and often unconventional approach to entertainment resonated with viewers who were drawn to his humor, creativity, and adventurous spirit. In 2018, Deerlund even ventured into acting, starring in the comedy film Team Albert, a story about a high schooler's quest to become a YouTube sensation. The film was well received and won the Blockbuster Audience Award at the Danish Film Awards in 2019, further solidifying Deerlund's place in the Danish entertainment industry. Despite his lighthearted content, Deerlund was known to push the boundaries in his videos, often involving stunts and risk-taking. Some of his content stirred controversy for its daring nature, including moments where he shaved his head or licked snails for the camera. But these antics were part of what made him popular among a younger audience seeking bold, unapologetic entertainment. Deerlund's work reflected his playful yet fearless attitude towards life, a trait that endeared him to many. His fans adored his willingness to take risks, but sadly, this same daring nature led to the accident that claimed his life. On July 28, 2021, Deerlund was filming in the Italian Alps, specifically on Mount Cicada in Val Gardena, a region known for its dramatic cliffs and towering peaks. Deerlund, accompanied by friends, was attempting to capture footage for his channel on a hiking route with steep, rocky slopes. But as he filmed on the mountain, something happened. Maybe it was because of inattention, or maybe it was because of recklessness. Albert was filming on a hiking trail that links two mountain peaks. The trail was steep and rocky. The unimaginable happened in an instant. 22-year-old Albert Deerlund stumbled and fell from a staggering height of 656 feet. His friends immediately alerted the authorities. A rescue helicopter was dispatched instantly. But the rescue operation itself was complicated by difficult conditions, including dense fog. When rescuers finally reached Albert Deerlund, the YouTuber was pronounced dead at the scene. According to reports, Deerlund's death occurred in a matter of seconds. Friends, fellow creators, and fans expressed their grief online. Many tributes poured in for the young YouTuber, with Danish social media personalities sharing heartfelt messages in his honor. As those who knew him mourn his passing, they also celebrate the joy he brought into the lives of many. Deerlund's memory lives on through his videos, a lasting testament to his creativity as well as his humor.